What if you could reset your body naturally? Lose weight, lower your blood pressure, support your heart, not with another prescription, but with a simple daily rhythm. Feel Great helps make time-based eating doable. It quiets cravings and fills in the gaps with fiber and nutrients. This protocol will help stabilize blood sugar and curb hunger. No more roller coasters, no more guesswork. This could change everything. Start your reset today. Go to youfeelgreat.com and use code BILLSTILL or call 1-800-864-2489. That's 1-800-864-2489 and tell them Bill Still sent you. Good morning. I'm still reporting on Bill Binney's take on why Doge needs to go deeper still to actually start exposing, then root out the surveillance state that really got its start during the Nixon administration in 1972 due to the Watergate scandal and the subsequent planning for a Nixon coup d'etat by the CIA. According to security analyst Tyler Bossett, in 2025, personal privacy isn't eroding, it's vanishing. The U.S. leads the world in surveillance with nearly 16 cameras per 100 people. Globally, over 1 billion public cameras watch us. Smart devices listen 24/7. You're tracked by 15 plus cameras daily. Algorithms know your thoughts before you do. I know that sounds unbelievable, but that is actually a fact. Voice assistants monitor whispers and intent. Phones ping your location 2,000 plus times a day. Browsers log every tap, scroll, and keystroke, and then it's stored, and that storage never goes away. Private DMs harvested, sold, and weaponized. You're not the customer, you're the product. During his time at NSA, Bill Binney held one of the top technical intelligence posts in the world, with the daunting title of Technical Director of the World for the Geopolitical and Military Analysis and Reporting Group. That's the title during his time at the National Security Agency, NSA. He saw the surveillance state developing and tried to steer the agency on a course that would have preserved personal privacy without impacting the ability of the intelligence community from catching bad guys. But he lost that battle and subsequently has suffered the consequences, as we've documented here in previous interviews. The main problem is that the intel community now records every phone call, email, and text onto the world's largest database. In technical terms, Binney refers to this as the bulk acquisition strategy. Binney fought bulk acquisition, predicting it would bury analysts in unnecessary data and open Americans to unnecessary capture of their personal data. Turns out he was right. I've got a couple questions, just a couple questions, and maybe this will feed into it. Uh, how do we downsize the various intelligence agencies, CIA, NSA, etc., since they control their huge budgets, also black budgets? Are they hidden from Trump?
It's like with the bulk acquisition, it's still, I mean, they spent tens of billions of dollars to get this stuff started. I mean, you don't think they're going to give that up, do you? They're not going to do that. It's too much money in it and too many perks, like people retiring, going into industry, and that circle of incestuous relationship between industry and government, and how they can swindle us out of money.
Right.
That USAID is just a simple fragment of what's going on. But he needs to do a little more to get to it than what they're doing, you know? I mean, this, like taking the surface stuff. How many people are over 100 years old on the Social Security list, and how many of them are still alive? Come on. You know, I mean, that's a simple ass sort. You know, I grep and egrep will get them all. You know, you could do that in 5 seconds
Right.
if you had the database. I mean, come on. Let's get in there and really do stuff, you know?
the average person or even a Doge person can't get in there.
Well, that's the point. Well, I mean, you can do certain things like the president can order the opening of all those databases and systems inside these agencies to these people to do it. That's what we suggested back in 2012 with Obama, having that group of people who would go around and ensure and integrate databases and ensure things are happening properly. That's what we were suggesting back then to him, but he didn't go for that because like NSA didn't go for that. They told us that program that wanted to do there back in 1992, I called well grounded, going into the databases and the network logs and figuring out who's doing what with what and what's legal, what isn't, who needs training, all that kind of stuff and exposing the spending of money everywhere, how much, when, from where to where, So, and I was told very clearly by NSA management at the top, you are never going to do this program.
Oops.
So, I mean, the writing was clear. They want to hide all of this, swindle that's going on. And like dumb idiots, we keep paying for it and don't object to it and don't put people in office and Congress will do something about it. They're idiots too. So that's what Doge should be doing. They should be looking into all of the databases in NSA. I mean, you could use those databases to validate people who can vote, who are eligible to vote and who aren't. Who's getting Social Security, who's getting benefits, who's eligible, who isn't. All of that could be automatically done with software. That's how you could reduce the manpower by automating the processing of it and showing that you don't need to have people doing a great bulk of it. They sure have to look into it to make sure it's functioning properly and things like that, and adding information if they need to or changing things if they need to. But you don't need the numbers of people that they have, to go through that stuff if you did it automatically, automated that process. That's what they call AI, right? Artificial intelligence. Well, it's simply capturing what people do to validate and verify data, um, and capturing it and putting it in a form that's in a software code. So you're formalizing it in software, and then you're just doing it on a massive scale then. And that basically replaces all that work necessary by people to do. So that reduces the burden on people and therefore the numbers of people necessary to do it. That's where they could save a lot of money.
However, there's corruption is so deep at this point that you just have to wonder,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a hard thing, yeah.
if they did remove a lot of people from the tree, the information tree, that would kind of narrow it down to just fewer people have more access to it and more access to the illicit money that can be derived from it.
It'd get richer, yeah.
I mean, it used to be that, this was horrible, the career-ending, booted from society as well if you
Yeah.
were caught doing that. But now it's just become so common, everybody goes, well, heck, I might as well do too.
Yeah, that's the way business is, yeah. I mean, business works that way, yeah. Well, I mean, overpaying businesses for things that it's just ridiculous too. I mean, I had to the contracts I ran in the U.S. government when I was in there. What I ran was what's called a level of effort contract. In other words, if I needed a certain skill, I would pay like a computer program. I'd pay a computer programmer to come in. I'd pay him his wage, and that's called a level of effort. And whatever the company requested for paying at his rate, that's what I would pay. I didn't do the fixed price thing where they would blow the price, double it, you know, estimate what it would cost and then double it. Then that's their big profit. I never did those kinds of contracts because I knew that was a trap just to waste money. But I got quite a bit done just doing it that way because I was the one directing the programs, what to do, how to build, what to build, how to make it work, how it works, put the logic down and the flow of the logical arguments that had to be coded and executed. Those are the things I did, and that's what saved all that money. The contractors didn't have to come up with that. I already knew how to do that, so I said, "This is what you do. Program it this way," and then they would program it, and that that made the contracts really cheap and effective and efficient. The trick was you had to know what to do. When you don't know what to do and you hand contractors contracts, oh, that's like an open-end question. That's a lollipop, never-ending lollipop. And you could have ice cream to the end of time. One of the guys came in from SAIC, a vice president, came in to run all the transformation programs in NSA, billions of dollars. He said, "We can milk this program for 15 years." Okay. That was the program trailblazer, and then so when we made our complaint to the Department of Defense Inspector General about all the corruption, fraud, waste, and abuse at NSA with the program trailblazer, he skedaddled out of NSA quickly. He left quickly. And of course, the program was killed because it was a waste of money. It didn't do anything except enrich certain contractors. It was just sick, and that's what goes on in a large number of programs. And it's just pathetic. It looks like Doge is going into some of the contracts and trying to get rid of some of them, but the scale of it is much larger, I think, than they've been talking about, much larger. And it's in every agency. So I think that's they have their favored contractor because those are the ones that hire them when they retire from government.
Right.
That's that circle of incestuous relating. I go to your company, you send me back and forth, and I make sure you get the primary contract. No, all that money goes your way. And the other thing is when we got out and tried to form a small company, the Congress had said that you have to spend 30% of your money allocated for contracts on small contractors, 30%.
Uh-huh.
And so what we had was SAIC or some other contract, I can't remember which one it was, came at us and said, we'll hold you on our records as a small contractor if you write up a contract. And we did, and we were down to bidding on a subcontract to them as a subcontract. So when they went to the money, they said, "Oh, well, this over here, this money over here is in our bid, in our main contract, is for this subcontract to this small business. So you can get credit for a small business contract there." So that's how they got credit for small businesses, but the money didn't go to us. We didn't ever got any money. No contract, no subcontract was actually executed. So it was like a fraud, okay? It was like a basic fraud. That happens too, okay? It's all just business, as usual for our government as it is right now.
So is there really any way to make a significant impact?
Yes, but it requires in-depth firing, and people going to jail for it, for fraud. It requires that. I mean, when I gave up when Obama said that he's not going to look back. Well, if you don't look back, you can't fix problems. You can't put people in jail so they don't do those kinds of things again, So what he was saying to me right there is, I'm not going to fix anything. And as far as I can see, nobody's doing that yet until they put these people in jail. I mean, they certainly have the evidence to do it. It's all recorded. Everything is recorded. That's why I had been advocating that Doge absolutely has to index all of the databases in the government agencies, indexing them all. I mean, there's only going to be a finite number of them, and it shouldn't be that difficult to do, and correlate them all so that you can actually do something meaningful. and monitor what the government is doing and make sure it's doing the right thing with the right people. You know, so but you have to do that, and at the same time, you have to also automate. I mean, we talked about it in one of your other programs, automate the network logs. That is that anytime anybody is doing like money transfers that from one account to another account, that is a government account to a contractor or something, another subcontractor or whatever, all those are bank accounts to bank accounts. And those are stored and recorded to the contract label. Whatever the contract is and the contract objectives are all written down. And then you can trace all the money that's being spent by contract and make sure that it's going for those contracts and not being diverted to other things. Things like that you could do. Uh, that's what happens. All those things, plus anything that anybody's doing with information inside the data or doing to the databases, you would see all of that also and know exactly who's doing what with whom. Like, for example, Ed Snowden, if you had this kind of indexing, Ed Snowden could never have taken out the data that he did from the NSA files because once he started it, they would know about it within milliseconds.
Hmm.
That was the point of it. But NSA management never wanted that, nor did the government, because it has the same implication to every agency. The same thing applies to them all. So they never wanted that because they wanted to do whatever they thought they should with money that came into their agency, you know, and do whatever they thought was appropriate within their agency, no matter what Congress or the people or anything anybody else thinks, the president too. So, I mean, they slow roll a lot of the senior managers in those agencies slow roll the appointed managers like the secretaries and what have you that are political appointments. They can be subverted by the lower levels in the fact that information coming up through that agency is whittled down and focused by the people in that management chain so that they can focus in on what they provide as far as information to higher level management. That's how you can subvert your high level management to do what you want them to do. And this is like the cloning process. You learn how to do this inside the US government. Inside each agency, they have a different cloning process, is what I call it. So that's the real problem. It's an in-depth problem. But the automation of these logs and the automation of the databases and merging the two together would give you the best view of everything that everybody's doing inside government and be able to monitor the legality and appropriateness of any action taken. If you did that, you could do that kind of thing. That's really what Doge should be doing, and they're not. Near as I can tell, they're not doing any of that. They're just doing. My guess is they're using grep and egrep commands going through the networks of each of the agencies, and they're
What are those
finding different
commands?
things. That grep is simply a query. If you have a term or something, find me all the lines of code or all the lines in this database that have this information. Or egrep gives you multiple conditions. It's like a query routine. But it's not like Google, because Google, if you put in multiple terms for a query from Google, Google will give you not just them all together, or if you put them all in quotes, it won't just give you all of them together. It'll give you each one independently also. And if that's not what you want, that just buries you in data and you can't see where's my answer, you know? I have to keep paging here. I have page after page after page. I can't find it. Where? That's why we went to Google in 2003 with a proposal to them saying, we can improve your query returns. Yeah, whittle them down to what people really want to see. And they said, of course, no, thank you, because we have that's our business plan. We get lots of money that way. So yeah, thank you, but nothing. And anyhow, that makes everything inefficient and just not very workable.
Hmm.
Anyhow,
So what's a mother to do?
Yeah. Well, they have to get somebody in there that knows how to do this kind of stuff, or if they don't want to do it, fine. They should at least say so. No, we're not going to do this. Right now, the level of effort they're putting, those people, they have about four people or five at each of the agencies in the government, four or five. That's not enough to do this.
Hmm.
I mean, you have to have, and there's no central coordination for it either. That also has to happen, and I don't see that at either. So, and I don't see any effort to do anything with the network logs or to monitor the transactions, financial, whatever, that each of the agencies is doing. That would be the real monitoring of government. And that would also be, once you automate that process, that would also be a way to help reduce the size of government. Then you wouldn't need that many people to do it. And you could do that by slowly not firing people. I mean, there's enough that turnover year after year, a 3 to 4% turnover, something like that every year. You know, you could just let the turnover go and not hire. I mean, that's a way of reducing staff. So, I mean, incentives are other ways you could do that too, if you want to, like Trump has done. 8 month payout with for a quick out or not a retirement, but a
Right.
leaving government and get eight months pay. At one of the cabinet meetings, they were saying they got something like 80,000 people out that way. That's about 4% of the government. That's something that should go every year. If you didn't hire anybody, that's basically the turnover that they should experience, something like that.
And that's not really that many people to where the agency could certainly adjust its workload without much problem.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Less turnover.
Yeah, and as you automated things, people will get more efficient. You can do more things, and that's when you get people to start to think about how to improve the situation, how to make things better.
What if we reestablished financial rewards for improvements that where there was a demonstrable money figure that was saved? They would get a certain percentage of that.
Well, I mean, that's certainly an incentive. I mean, if I could have claimed that with Google, you know, but I didn't have any IP benefit from it at all. The IP benefit I got was being crushed. Everywhere I went, they tried to stop that any further development on my part. Well, I had all these automation ideas to automate the processing that people would do with that data, finding bad guys, stopping things, things of that nature, and actually making things more efficient and what have you, with through the analysis automation of all data and that they were collecting in all the agencies, really.
I want to ask you something about J6 that just came to mind. There's a lot of talk about how all the J6 transcripts of what happened have been destroyed. And I kind of went, you mean really? None of this went through Iron Mountain, for example?
I don't I don't believe that if you look hard enough around, I'm sure you'll find it. I mean, if a lot of it there's probably some of it in the NSA databases that is people coordinating with whatever they're doing about J6 through the telephone networks, the cell phones, what have you, short messages, or other email or things of that nature that people have been discussing about January 6th. People in government as well start talking about it. I'm sure that that's available. That's not lost. Like Hillary Clinton destroyed all those 33,000 emails or something. That's all in the NSA database. If it went across the lines, they have it, So,
This was all part of the continuity of government movement that actually started back when nuclear weapons became a factor. And they were trying to make it so that even if the United States received a full-scale nuclear attack, a lot of continuity would be preserved so government could be reestablished quickly. And that's the root cause of that continuity of government thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think it ever went away.
No, no, no. But I have a little story about that if you want to hear it.
Yeah,
As a part of the survival thing, they wanted to put it somewhere else so that it could possibly survive.
right.
And I said, gee, okay, it's here, but you want to put it down in Texas down there with on an air base, which is a SAC air base, Strategic Air Command. So you want to move it out from under all the weapons that they have targeted here, put it down there where all the weapons they have targeted down there. And you're going to spend half $1 billion to do it.
I just happen to have completely lost faith in government. I mean, having worked in and around government, the federal government in the DC area for most of my adult life, there was a certain, as far as I was concerned, a certain honesty about it. You were worried about your security clearance, etc. And so to me, people were relatively honest, and I just can't even imagine from that mindset moving to the mindset that's going on right now, where it's a free for all, where everybody steals as much as they can
Yeah.
because there's no coming back against them.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's my point about you have to look back and put some of these people in jail. If you don't do that, nothing's going to change because it's such a nice gravy train. It's such a gravy train that people, they love it. I mean, it's a free ride and it's a very comfortable ride.
And the people who know protect the other ones who know. And
Yeah, because it'd be the domino effect. If one falls, they all start to fall. It's like what I saw a quote on the web. I don't know whether it's true or not, attributed to Hillary Clinton, when she was referring to them taking her down. If they take her down, they're going to have to take half of Washington down too. And then I saw another one from Senator Kennedy. He said that 90% of the people in Congress should be making license plates. Well, all of that's true. I called them all criminals because anybody who voted for the Patriot Act, knowing what was happening under that Patriot Act and all that other crap about security and give up privacy and all that crap, what they were doing, uh, they all voted for it, and all those were accessories to crimes.
well, where do we go from here? What's the next best path to actually make something happen?
I'm on Truth Social pushing things out there as what needs to be done, what people should be doing. And I was just about to hit Doge with what they ought to be doing with this network logs and with the databases that they should be indexing and they're not.
Okay, well, what's your message to Doge? I mean, maybe who knows? Maybe I've got somebody who might be able to do
I
something.
mean, that idea that they just found how many millions of people who were dead on the Social
Right,
Security,
right.
indexing that data and following that data, that would have never happened. Because if you index the dead file with Social Security with the applicants coming in for Social Security, I mean, come on,
Seems
this
like
person
pretty
is
common
dead.
sense stuff
Yeah,
that would automatically have already happened long ago. But
exactly. And
no,
how many billions are wasted every year on that kind of stuff? How many millions of people are getting that billions every year, and they're all dead? So, add it up over the decades that this has been going on. I mean, what were they saying? One person was in there that was dead and was aged 340. That's older than the country. You know, this
an
is simple
original
stuff.
Mayflower participant.
Yeah, yeah, came over on that boat. Yep, yep. And yet we allow this. I don't know. It's not stupidity on their part. They're smart because they think they can get away with it, right?
Right.
That's what's happening. Nobody's doing anything about it. So, hey, this is the gravy train. I'm on it. I'm going to stay with it until somebody does something that makes them think twice about doing it. If you don't have consequences of people in jail for the fraud and crimes they're committing, why, it's not going to stop.
Playing tennis one time, and one of the guys I was playing against was talking about how his daughter had signed up with the FBI and they put her on this mail cover training thing, and how proud he was because she could basically take apart a package and get its contents out, photograph it, put it back in the package, or if she destroyed the package, they had a handy every kind of package right there. Boom, put it in that within 2 or 3 minutes, the whole
Yep.
operation. And that was what they trained her for. Out there, those people are definitely out there. And I thought that ended with the Nixon administration, but no.
No, hey, that hasn't stopped since World War II.
Well,
That didn't
they
that
can't
was
do it to everybody.
no, they couldn't up until now.
They can't possibly do it even now. They can't hit everybody. They've got to target certain individuals.
I mean, for the external photographing, they can do everybody. Even license readers going up and down the highways, right?
Right.
Although the Supreme Court has said you're not it is not legal to track people without a warrant. They do it anyway with this license plate reader stuff and all of the it's the treasure map program internally in NSA with all electronic stuff, and I'm sure CIA and FBI have their own set versions of that, just like they did when they were spying on under the Nixon administration. NSA had the program Minaret, uh, FBI had COINTELPRO, and CIA had Chaos. Those were the programs they were running simultaneously in parallel, spying on U.S. citizens and focusing on people they didn't like. And back then, they could only do a certain number, a few thousand, not the tens of millions. And
So what are we to do about that?
well, that's the other thing. There's a way to that's another program, Bill, I think. But there's a way to purge the data and at the same time force them in by deleting anything that's not relevant from their files and their databases, so that they can't abuse the information about people. There's a way to do that. And
Do that on another program?
yeah, it's basically deductive, inductive, and abductive logic with you know certain attributes and certain things you use to be able to do it. That's what we were doing with the thin thread program. And it was proving that you could do this without doing bulk acquisition. Giving up privacy was not necessary to have security. We proved that back in the 1990s. But that was the big lie they told everybody to buy into it eventually. National security and all that crap, and all it did was it made their people dysfunctional. And from the Snowden material, we even had internal memos written by the analysts inside the agencies, NSA, CIA, and MI5 and GCHQ talking about are overburdened by overload.
Right.
And they basically complain and they can't see a threat coming because they're just buried with too much data. That was the problem back in 1990s, and that's why we did the thin thread program. That's why I devised the approach to do a disciplined professional selection of information, smart selection of data up front to make it a minimal amount so that management of the data at that point would be a manageable problem. When they take in everything, it's not manageable. Because if you have to look at the data itself before you do anything, you're just immediately buried. There are ways to fix it, and really that, I think, probably be better separate and take a little more time to discuss that.
Okay. I got to make a note because I'll forget in about 1 minute.
I know the problem, Bill.
Wait, I'm just so happy that you're so robust looking now. So
I'm just every time I talk to you, I get angrier and angrier. That's so, it just makes me, I want to go out and say, these stupid fools we have up there in government, I tell you.
yeah.
They're not fools, they're criminals. That's all. It's not foolishness, it's criminality.
Yeah.